My atheist girlfriend hates that I'm waiting until marriage to sleep with her. So she went to multiple orgies because she was actually frustrated. My girlfriend and I have been dating for a year and we've had a pretty good relationship, aside from the occasional arguments about my religious values. My girlfriend is strictly atheist and doesn't believe in a God, while I was raised Catholic and go to church every Sunday. But our problems have nothing to do with that. She has a problem with me not sleeping with her because I prefer to save myself until marriage. She knew this early on and it didn't affect our relationship too much. Especially since we would still fool around a bit, we just never went all the way. She never pressured me into it but has dropped hints that I'm missing out on sleeping with her because she's apparently very good at intimacy. I wouldn't know. I never dated anyone before her either because I was an introvert and dating honestly scared me. We only really dated because she had an interest in me and pursued me. She really got me out of my shell and I would have hoped to have a longer relationship than we did. But it became apparent to me recently that she isn't a private person like I thought she was. She was just intentionally keeping secrets from me. For the last 5 months she had been going to group therapy sessions. I was really worried that she might be depressed, but she never talked to me about it. She would say she didn't feel like talking about it because it made her uncomfortable. I respected that and didn't want to push. But it also felt like she was keeping me away from a vulnerable part of herself. So sometimes I'd ask if I could go with her, but she'd get defensive and say it's too personal for her. It got to a point where we barely talked because she was always at her therapy and she'd text the members from her group more than me. It was like she had developed a new friend circle that I wasn't allowed to meet and I wasn't allowed into that part of her life at all. She wasn't emotionally or physically there for me and it didn't feel like we were even dating anymore. She was becoming a stranger to me day by day. And then I got a strange phone call from her. I could only hear some heavy breathing, like she was suffocating, and I freaked out. I started screaming for her to answer and only after a while did she answer. She said it was a pocket dial and hung up. I was so worried and tried calling her, but she had turned her phone off. I didn't even know where she was so I felt so helpless the entire time she was gone. When she got back, I made her explain what happened and she said it was a super emotional session. I didn't even know if that was true and I wanted to believe her, but it made no sense to me. I tried to get an actual answer out of her, but she got really aggressive and told me to drop it. I didn't want to upset her so I stopped. Then, the next week, we were kissing and things were getting pretty steamy. I had to remind her to stop because I wasn't ready and she got really mad at me. She started an argument with me, asking when I was going to be ready. I was such a tease, and she's always actually frustrated because of me. I tried to explain that she knew what she was getting into when we first started dating, but she reiterated and said she thought she could change my mind and then called my religion stupid. I told her I didn't appreciate any of what she said, hoped that she didn't mean it, and let her know it doesn't help that she is so distant because I don't even know who she is anymore. She asked what she could do to open up, to which I suggested going to one of her therapy sessions, but she got very defensive. She claimed I was being too invasive and giving her ultimatums. No matter how many times I said that wasn't the case and I wasn't trying to force anything, she still shouted at me and we didn't talk after that argument for a week. She wouldn't call me and stayed out of the house as much as she could. I barely even saw her. Well, last night, she went to one of her therapy sessions and I decided to follow her. It sounds crappy but she was acting really sketchy and I never got past that pocket dial. One way or another, I was getting to the bottom of this.